sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my mid-year check-in. Now, last year I did do a goals check-in. This year I'm not going to do that, mostly because I didn't go over my goals for last year in time for me to film this video. However, it is July and it is slightly past mid-year now at this point, so I wanted to do a check-in to kind of go over my stats so far for the year. Now, I will fair warn that this is actually going to be predominantly a stat-heavy video. I'm not going to talk about the best books I've read so far, my expectations really with regards to books next year. So if stats are not really your thing, I'm going to go ahead and fair warn you, this video is also probably not really going to be your thing. My next disclaimer is my usual disclaimer. If you hear any beeping, barking, food being eaten, sounds, etc., I live in a zoo and I have very little control over the animals that exist here. We exist in harmony, and so I don't tell them what to do. With that being said, let me go ahead and get into my stats for 2022 so far, as of July 11th at the very least. The total number of books read has been 196, which, if you know how many I read last year, is really a lower number, and I'm quite pleased with it because I very intentionally wanted to read less books, so I'm not mad about it. I have DNF'd a total of 7 books, which is higher than last year for sure, but I think part of it is because I am branching out a little bit more than I did last year, or at least I feel like I am, and I'm intentionally reading more adult books, and there was a little bit of issue with finding what exactly that looked like for me, like what kind of adult books I actually enjoyed. So there has been a little bit of DNFing. I'm also a little bit more liberal about my DNFing than I used to be. While I still try to get up to 50% of the book before making that decision, I also am not like, oh, I'll hold on a little bit. No. If I am thinking about all of the ways I'd rather not read a book, then I'm not gonna read the book. The total pages I've read this year so far is 28,425. If you guys will remember from any of my wrap-ups, I am only counting page numbers for books that I am physically reading. So if that number seems a little bit off for the number of books that I've read, that is why. The total hours of audiobook that I have listened is 50 days and 22 hours, because I can't have a single thought or quiet. I read an average of take an average of 2.3 days per book. I read an average of 118.5 pages per day, and I listen to an average of 6 hours and 3 minutes and 23 seconds per day. My average books per month thus far has been 29, which is not bad. It's a little bit less than a book for every single day, which aligns with that 2.3 number for how many days it takes for me to finish a book. Really, I've said that I want to read fewer books. My goodreads goal this year was 200, so I'm not unhappy with this number. I'm really indifferent, if I'm being honest. The next section is going to be the percentages of different types of books, like format, audiobook, digital, print, etc., genre and age range, etc. But this is all going to be in percentages out of that large number that I already gave, the 196 books for the year. Of those books, audiobooks make up 57% of them, print makes up 24% of them, and digital makes up 19% of them. That's kind of interesting. I did expect digital to be swapped with physical or with print. I didn't realize how many print books I actually am reading. I honestly thought it was a much lower number because I have acquired so few books in comparison to what I was buying last year and the year before. Prose makes up 75% of the types of books, and novellas and short story collections each make up 2%. Graphic novels make up 1%. I have read considerably fewer graphic novels than I normally do. I don't read poetry books or books in verse very often. I don't enjoy them, so that makes sense why that's not even on the list. It's not something I enjoy. 25% of all of my reading has been rereads, which aligns with my childhood rereads or book club books, or now that I have been reading a book, like if I'm continuing on a series and I haven't read the first book in a while or the first couple of books in a while, then that book I will reread to ensure that I remember everything that's going on. 44% of those books were adult books, which is fantastic because that has been my goal, was to read more adult books than young adult books this year. That was a huge goal of mine, and I feel like I've actually done it, and I'm still doing it. I'm still reading more adult than young adult. I read 33 young adult and then 23 children's and middle grade books. Those line up with what I kind of expected. I'm not really surprised by that number. I read 94% fiction books and 6% nonfiction books. Again, super not surprised by this number. Most of the nonfiction reading that I've done has occurred recently. Sorry about that sound in the background, but if you can hear it, I'm not sure, but it's the dryer. Most of the nonfiction books are books that I have started reading recently, and they have to do with abolitionism. And there's only so many books I can read on that, so I haven't had a whole lot of nonfiction, more than I would have expected, but definitely that number all lines up for me. For genres, I read 41% fantasy. Super not surprising. I'm a fantasy reader before anything else. I think what surprises me in these numbers, and we'll get to it, is the sci-fi number. I expected it to be higher. I don't know why. So 41% fantasy, 16% mystery and thriller, 13% horror, 9% sci-fi, 8% romance, 6% nonfiction, 3 contemporary, and 2 historical. Like I was saying, super not surprised by fantasy. However, the sci-fi being so much lower did surprise me. Horror is really moving its way up recently too. I've been reading it a lot. There's also a lot of books that it's hard to decide whether it's a thriller or a horror, because a lot of them are both and can easily be classified as both. So horror is low-key my favorite genre to read. I am just very picky about it, and so I read considerably less of it than I do fantasy. Fantasy is my most consumable genre, so while it is not my favorite necessarily, it is one that I find enjoyable and easy to find. Like, I'm less picky about fantasy than I am about horror. Horror I'm super picky about. Same with horror movies. I'm very particular about the kinds that I read or the kinds that I watch. It's who I am, alright? It is what it is. 77% of the books that I read were for fun. 14% were review copies. 3% were book club, 3% were readathon, and 2% were personal development. That also included the 24% rereads or whatever. So it's a mixed bag there about when, because there's 2 different places in the chart for where to mark if a book was reread, so it shows up in the data in 2 different places. So that percentage is slightly off because sometimes I would be rereading something, but it was for the book club. So that number was slightly off. Anyway. I do like to read for fun, so none of that is surprising either. That is all very accurate to what I have expected. I did expect my review copies to be higher. For some reason in my head I've done way more reviewing than usual, but I really haven't been doing more reviewing. I've done considerably less than usual, and it's because I'm trying to take more time to consume the content and more time to write the review and write more thorough reviews. I'm also kind of adjusting the way that I review things so that I address certain things, like, you know, my thoughts on the matter, like what things I liked, what things I didn't like. I'm sort of evolving the way that I write reviews, which is making me read reviews a little bit more slowly, but I think that's just kind of the process of a book reviewer as a whole, who, like, it's pretty lame if you're not trying to actively grow and learn, right, and improve your process. Of all the books that I read, 38% of them were library books, 14% were advanced reader copies, 14% were borrowed, 7% were my own TBR, which means I already physically owned them, and 7% of them were books that I purchased this year. I use the library like nobody's business. I really like checking out books from the library. I like using the library as a resource. It's what has helped me not spend so much money this year. I think my total spending is under $250 for the year, which by July, that's kind of impressive. I feel like I would not have been able to say that last year or the year before. I am obviously trying to save money and that kind of thing, and I really think utilizing the library has been beneficial to me. If you guys are international and you're not really sure, you can, like, there are certain libraries in the United States that will allow you to get a library card from outside of the United States. You just have to pay a fee. I know that if you live in the United States, you can get a library card from the Brooklyn Public Library for $50 a year. I currently have it. I just recently got it, and I need to, by the end of the year, I'll basically decide whether or not I want to continue and renew that library card, like if it was worth the money. I have that library card, the San Antonio library card, a Central Texas library card, which kind of covers all of Central Texas. Not a lot of books show up on that. It's kind of the rural areas because where I lived before I moved to San Antonio. the Brooklyn, and then if you live in Texas, you can get a Houston library card for free. So, you know, some people might think that it's a little bit wild that I have so many library cards, but I think that it's really beneficial if you're somebody who consumes a lot of literature and you're impatient, because you can put holds on the same book from multiple libraries, because one might show up early and then you can cancel the holds on others and just go from there, and I really like to do that. Is that manipulating the system? I really don't know. Libby lets you do it, so I'm gonna say no, it's not manipulating the system. Anyway, I read all of my books really fast, so they get returned really quickly. For my reviews, this was a little bit interesting. I know that I have the tendency to give out 5-star reviews like candy. I have a very hard time with being honest in my reviews. I have gotten much better about it. I have gotten considerably better about it. I don't like to be mean to authors unless like they super deserve it, or the book really deserves it, and that doesn't happen very often. So it's very hard for me not to give it a 5-star review. Cawpile has helped me immensely, and if you guys are using Art's book tracker, she does have the Cawpile method included in the rating system, which is very helpful. It keeps you honest, keeps me honest. I have to like really think about something as I'm working with it, like did I really like this as much as I feel like I did? And sometimes my initial review of 5 stars is actually a review of 3 stars, because when I'm really thinking about it, I really didn't like some of these things. So it keeps me from reviewing things right off the bat. First impression review versus actually thinking about it review. It also helps me with writing my book reviews. So if you're a book reviewer, I highly recommend using the Cawpile method. Anyway, the percentages for that is I had 38% 5-star reads, 33% 4-star reads, 19% 3-star reads, 8% 2-star reads, and I misspelled star, and 3% 1-star reads. I am glad that the 5 and 4-star reads are a little bit equal. I would like to see how that continues. I will say that there have been a couple of months recently where it was honestly very hard to pick a worst book of the month because I enjoyed a lot of my reads, or I was indifferent to a lot of my reads, so they would be in the 3-star category. I also have a hard time including my 4-star reads in my top books of the month because that seems unfair. But that is my ratings. And that also is all of the stats that I have for you guys for this mid-year check-in. I know this is a short and sweet kind of video, but I felt like I've seen some people doing it. A lot of people call it the mid-year freakout tag. I think that we talked about this last year, why we don't necessarily call it that anymore. I don't have the languaging in order to have that conversation, so I will not be having that conversation, especially not in this video, but I did want to check in and give you guys my stats for the year. I'm pretty pleased with how all of my reading has gone. My book blanket has gotten comfortably large at this point. You can see its progress through any of my wrap-ups. I did stop posting about it on the internet as much, mostly just because it's a lot of work to take all of that footage, but you can see all of it on my wrap-ups. I do try to show an update each time. It's quite large now. It's bigger than my rug that I have regularly laid it on, so there's that. I'm excited to see where the rest of the year goes, especially with the track record that I've had for reading, and I hope that things continue to go as expected, really. I'm not gonna push myself to do anything more or better or more or greater. I'm just kind of enjoying where I'm at with reading right now, and it's a nice place to be. Considering all of the slack I got for reading for CLEARURSHT last year, being very comfortable in the amount that I'm reading this year has been a nice change of pace. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you didn't enjoy this video, let me know in the comments down below how I can make it better for you, while I will only be, doing this again next year. So, but if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. I hope you guys are having a great day. I post every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Every single week. Haven't been late in a while, in a long time actually. So I will see you guys again next week. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.